Hello. Start broadcast. Hello and welcome back to Trade HQ. It has been the biggest day of the trade period by far. I'm Sam Landsberg. I'm joined by Glenn McFarlane.
Hey, Sammy.
Mark trades left, right, and centre. Let's run through them first of all. Kicks off. Dane Beams.
Dane Beams is over the line. We've been waiting for it for a while. The deadline passed, but we got there today. Dane Beams had picked 67. Pies have thrown that in for picks 5, 25, and Jack Crisp, the potato crisps.
Potato crisps thrown in on the end. The next one to move along. So then the Pies have taken that pick 25. Said, you're off the Arden Street. Give us Levi Greenwood.
Straight away.
That's a done deal. Mitch Clark is a cat.
Absolutely. Well, that's the three-way deal. And it's going to be fascinating to see who eventually is the winner in that three-way deal. Mitch Clark to Geelong.
Yep.
Travis Varco to Collingwood, and Heretier Lumumba to Melbourne.
So that's amazing. Rarely do you see a player swap like for like without stake knives thrown in, let alone three of them switching places. On that deal, let's focus on that one first of all. So Geelong loses Varco, gains Mitch Clark. Collingwood loses Lumumba, gains Varco, and Melbourne loses Clark, where they didn't really have anyway, and gains Lumumba. Winner, loser, and who broke even?
Well, I think probably winner, potentially Geelong in that sense, even though I'm not wrapped with some of the things that are going on Geelong. But in that particular deal, I think Geelong's probably the winner. Melbourne's probably the break even. They didn't have Mitch Clark anyway, let's be honest. And they get Heretier Lumumba. Not sure about the Pies with Varco. A bit of a risk, I think. So they're potentially the loser in that situation.
Yeah, the Pies fans seem really flat on Varco. He's got speed, which they need, but it's definitely not one. It's been a bit of a hard sell.
Yeah, definitely a hard sell. And you're only going to look at that when you look at Twitter and you look at the Collingwood supporters. You've got to definitely a bit cool on Varco. At his best, he'd be outstanding in this team. You look back to some of those grand finals. You look back to the way he was playing a few years ago, and potentially he's going to add a fair bit to Collingwood, but it's just a risk in that sense, I think.
Now, let's focus on the Pies for a second. So, in the big magnitude of things, so Collingwood has lost Beams and Lumumba and pick 67 and brought in pick 5, Jack Crisp, Levi Greenwood, Travis Varco. What do you make of that?
Well, it's interesting. It's going to be fascinating. You never want to lose Dane Beams. They've done everything they possibly could in that sense. I like Levi Greenwood coming in. Very happy with that.
Yeah, inside mid.
Inside mid, it's exactly. Pendlebury needs some help.
Another big body.
Yeah, definitely. Pendlebury needs some help, and I know that that's been a real concern at Collingwood. They don't want to leave him out. Chris, potentially the same. What worries me a little bit about all three of them, and the Herald Suns as well and truly been all over this, is their disposal efficiency. That really concerns me. Collingwood haven't been great in recent years, which is bizarre when you think about the bloke who's coaching them. One of the great kicks of all time is coaching a team that really is not a great kicking side. So that's a bit of a concern. The fact is, though, they're going to have 2 picks in the top 10 for the second year in a row. One of them they've already obviously spent on Darcy Moore.
And then not only is it top 10 picks for the second year in a row, you rewind the year before, they had 3 first-round picks with Broomhead, Grundy, and Ben Kennedy.
As well.
That's 7 first-round picks in the space of 3 years.
Well, it's been a strategy, and the strategy has been brought about in part by people leaving. And Beams has obviously presented that opportunity this time around. But it's going to be a tough year for him next year. It really is going to be a tough year for him next year. Interesting, there's still no love lost between Brisbane and Collingwood, even though the deal went through. Tom Rockcliffe putting out the tweet not long ago about it being a family club and looking after the great values and the Brisbane Lions. So that was clearly headed towards Collingwood for sure.
If you're not on Twitter, get on and follow the Brisbane Lions and some of their players, because what they deliver is outstanding. Clay Beams went whack at the football world last night.
He did.
Pierce Hanley, I think, was on there today. Tommy Rockcliffe said. And the Brisbane Lions official account. This morning, I think they hashtag lock it in Eddie. So just a little bit of a backhander Eddie as well.
Absolutely. Imagine when they play next year. It'll be
round 1.
Oh, they will. It's going to be round 1, of course. It's going to be round 1.
Round 1 at the Gabba.
At the Gabba.
So we will have Dane Beams lining up against Collingwood in his first game as a Lions.
Isn't that sensational? And of course, Heretier Lumumba in his first game next year. That'll be his 200th game as well, which is quite amazing.
So Chris Dawes might carry him off as a former.
Who else? There's no one else. Yeah, exactly.
I remember the Dogs. Jason Ackermanis played his 250th in round 2, and it was just the flattest milestone of all time. So Heretier might be in for a bit of a dull day, but
he might be exactly.
Especially if the Melbourne's getting flogged on a Sunday afternoon in front of 10,000.
True, that's very true.
We'll wait and see on that one.
Definitely.
Now the trade which has surprised me. Well, the one which surprised me yesterday was the Cats giving up Alan Christensen for only pick 21, which say numbers.
Yeah.
And they've now handed that to St Kilda for Reece Stanley. So Out goes Christian.
They're absolutely worried about their tools, aren't they? And we saw that this year. It's been a huge concern with the injuries to a number of their tools, and we're keen to get Reece Stanley in. I do like the Saints having a crack.
I love
I've
what the
got
Saints
to
have
say,
done.
love the Saints having a crack. But the Cats on that deal, you look at that, the way that's worked out, it's not worked out well for the Cats, in my review.
Well, they've got Vardy and Simpson come back from injury, and they've brought in two blokes who stand 2 metres tall, and they've just lost Christensen and Navako, zippy outside players. It seems a strange move. I mean, you're not going to question the Cats. I mean, they've been the best at it for a decade now. But on the surface, it's you like to see what they're building at. We might jump to a quick one from Al on the live blog coming through. Mac, one for you. Any chance of the Saints trading pick 1 to GWS for 4 and 7?
Well, it's just a possibility, isn't it?
Before we answer that, we should say that pick 7 is Giants' pick. If not, it will be in a matter of minutes.
It's a matter of minutes because it's going to happen. I mean, you've got some information on that already, haven't you, Sam?
Yes, I think Christian Jackson's been seen out at Navy Blue headquarters, St. Apollo, so the Christian Jacks deal will get done. He was Carlton's #1 priority by a mile. So it'll be Jacks and Mark Wiley and pick 19.
Isn't it? So, I mean, ability still the Saints. I mean, I think the Saints probably what are they heading towards? They need to pick up a couple of really big bodies now and down forward, don't they? Desperately. Reece Stanley gone.
That's the part of it. I mean, if they do trade out pick 1 for a couple of high picks, and if one of them is pick 4, they should be able to get their hands on one of the 2 big blokes in McCartan and Wright. And there's no doubt that is now a priority. You lose Stanley, Rewalt's obviously right nearing the end. It's that they need to get some size.
And you wrote about this, and it's been well talked about, that #1 pick. I love the fact St Kilda are taking a risk. I know that I know there's some supporters out there a little bit concerned about it, but I love the fact they're prepared to put it on the line and take a risk. And if they do it, good on them. Have a crack.
Well, their first objective was to receive another draft pick between their first and second round picks, which was 1 and 22. They've done that by bringing in 21. If they can now translate pick 1, generate a couple more top 10 picks, there's no doubt it's part of their strategic plan. That they'd be thrilled with that result.
No doubt. No, absolutely no doubt at all, Sammy. But we're still waiting on a few, aren't we? I mean, there's plenty to drop today, but still waiting on quite a few. Got another question here, Sammy.
Now, it is believed that the GWS Blues deal is done. We agree with that. Mail says Bernie. Will GWS offer pick 7 for Ryan Griffin?
Ooh, what do you reckon? Is the Griffin deal going to get done? What's going to happen? You've got got a bit of mail there, Sammy.
I don't think the Giants would offer 4 and 7. I reckon the ideal outcome for the Giants, and I'm not sure the Dogs will take this, is that they give 4 and 7 for the Dogs pick 6.
Okay.
So the Dogs will get pick 4 and slide from 6 to 7. So they move below.
That makes a bit of sense, doesn't it? That makes a bit of sense.
I'm not sure the Dogs are going to be too happy with that. They've been very, very clear that they want Tom Boyd, and the Giants have been just as emphatic that they want to release.
With this stalemate, what's going to happen tomorrow, do you think? I mean, a chance that what's going to happen with Ryan Griffin if there's no trade? Surely he can't go back.
I'm not sure what he'll do.
No.
He's contracted next year. He does not want to play there. I can't believe the Giants haven't come to the party. I mean, obviously it's not ideal a #1 draft pick walking out after 12 months, but they were willing to trade Tom Boyd 12 months ago.
Correct.
He was the #1 draft pick for the last 6 months of the last season, and they said all trade period last year, #1 pick is on the table. Now the Dogs want him a year later, and they're offering their captain for him, and they can't get the deal done. If the Giants do this deal, not only do they get in a Rolls Royce, it says to the whole competition, we are a destination club. Ryan Griffin wants to play for us.
Absolutely.
So that's just taking me from that point of view, but they're pretty emphatic, and there's a fair bit to play out.
Oh, there's a lot to play out with that, isn't it? And it's just going to be fascinating to see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah. Question here from Brad. Any chance Melbourne trading picks 2 and 3? Don't think so.
Don't think it's going to happen, is it?
No, I think they're going to take
now.
both to the draft. I think, they really wanted to get a big fish like a Paddy Dangerfield or something. When that started to...
it's got to be a big fish. If it's not worthy of a Paddy Dangerfield or something like that, there's no point in doing it, is it? They might as well build for the future. What they've got to do, though, is they've got to get those picks right. And we've seen in recent years they haven't been always in a position to get those right, and they've just got to get this ones right.
I think, they'll get a kid like Angus Brayshaw.
He's a lock.
Pretty blue chips. I think that'll be one, and pick 3. Who knows what they'll go for? But yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll take those 2 in the draft as it stands. Question here from Shay: what chance of the Dogs busting up a trade for the disgruntled Griffin, and he slips through the preseason draft. Well, very little shade because Griffin is contracted 2015, so he can't enter the preseason draft, unfortunately. What else have we got here? Al, flipping through the questions now. Geelong would trade out a tall Walker, Brown, Simpson, Vardy, Kirsten, the Blitzars. What do you think? I think Snack might need to word that question a bit better, but no, I don't think they're going to trade any of those blokes.
I don't think so. There's a couple in that you'd be almost prepared to, I reckon. There's a couple in there you'd think about it for the right option, but they're just going to have so many big fellas, aren't they?
Well, as Brad points out on the live, they've now got 11 blokes over 195 centimetres.
It's too many. I mean, it sounds strange. They were short towards the end of the year with all those injuries. But what if everyone's back and everyone's playing? It just slants the list one way rather than the other.
How many can you play in the one team?
Of those guys?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, McIntosh, you think gets a game?
Yes, if he's right. If he's right.
Well, Vardy, if he's fully fit, is in their best 22.
No doubt. No doubt.
Clark clearly is.
Clark's clearly in their best 22.
If they're trading P20 off for Stanley, they clearly see him in their side.
Well, that's a question mark, I reckon, isn't it? It's a strange call, but maybe they
Blitzars, it goes on. How many can they play?
Maybe they know something about a couple of these guys and the question marks on them more so. I mean, Vardy, as we know, has had such an interrupted. We know how talented he is, but he's had just such an interrupted period to his career, hasn't he?
Yeah. Now, there's not too often that a Brownlow medalist gets traded. And it looks a fate complete almost that Adam Cooney will be on his way out of it with Noble.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Mark?
Well, North Melbourne looks like a likely home. I would have thought it would be a pretty reasonable home, wouldn't it, in that sense? Essendon have obviously been interested as well. It seems strange almost, doesn't it? The Bulldogs used to have a habit of trading out blokes who would then win a Brownlow medal somewhere else, but now they're going to trade out a Brownlow medalist. Are you happy with that? Are you concerned?
Oh, it really depends what they get in. I think the interesting point is Cooney probably wants to go to Essendon, but North has the upper hand in terms of a trade. I think we wrote this morning. Kieran Harper is on the table. The Dogs did a medical yesterday. I'm pretty sure they were okay with what that showed up. He's obviously only played 3 games in the past 2 years with those ankle surgeries, but he's got speed, which is what they need. And if you look at this 2012 season, he looked like a real shining light for the Roos.
I reckon he can play. If he's got his body right, I think he'd be a pretty good pickup in that sense.
The other part favouring in North Melbourne's direction is I'm pretty sure that if Cooney goes some less chance, the Dogs will have to pay any of Cooney's salary next year.
And that's crucial, really, in a lot of ways. So I'm sure that's probably the way it's headed at the moment. But there's still a few others. Ryan Schoenmakers, what's going on with it? I know that Fremantle are pretty keen on Ryan Schoenmakers. Certainly there's a couple of people there who are. I'm not sure the coach is, but the coaches will have a big bearing in it as well. And Adelaide as well is another team that is really keen. He won't be at Hawthorn. I think that deal will be done. I think he's basically been told that
he wanted to stay.
He wanted to stay, as did Mitch Hallahan. And
putting that on the record yesterday. Great story here.
Thanks. But putting it on the record, Mitch Hallahan wanted to stay as well. And I think they've both found out that their opportunities are going to be not just limited, they're going to be very, very minimal. So they'll probably, if they can get that long-term option, and Mitch Hallahan will get a 3-year deal at Gold Coast and will be offered the chance to go straight into that midfield. And I think you've got to take that, don't you?
Trade aside, how scary is this? I mean, these are 2 blokes, let alone the others like Luke Loudon, there's a couple others in the mix there, which would get games other clubs. And Hawthorn's saying you are well down our anyway. How well is this?
Well, I reckon Hallahan would, and so would Schoenmakers, would get a game in 90% of teams, wouldn't they? For most of the year. And Hallahan's played 6 games with Hawthorn. Incredible. I think he averaged 20 disposals in those 6 games, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they want to give blokes like Littleton and Hartson to go, and obviously O'Rourke came in last week.
Gee, they're going to be hard to beat when you look at it 3 in a row again.
Especially when the next contender can't bring in any other players.
Correct, exactly.
Big going on there. What about Liam Jones? Bit of talk that he might slip through the pre-season draft. This is fascinating. He was taken in the same draft as Reece Stanley. I think he's played 8 more games and kicked about 10 or so more goals. Saints are getting picked 21 for Stanley.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And the Dogs are getting offered a 3rd round pick or potentially nothing for Liam Jones.
It's incredible, isn't it, the way it goes? I mean, who would you pick? Both got queries on them, clearly.
Consistency
is a massive issue with both. But you make a really good point with that. Absolute great point. Loudon, will he go? Loudon will go? Or is there's not a lot of interest? I think it's probably...
Yeah, it's
Adelaide maybe, or
maybe
it's a difficult one, isn't it?
Now we've got a question here from Declan who wants to know: surely pick 17 isn't enough for Ryder if Stanley's pick 21. Well, excuse me. Unfortunately, we can't really compare the trades.
No,
but look, Port's up the offer already, so I think it's 17 and 37 already.
Surely a deal gets done for sanity's sake as much as everyone else.
Let's not go back to court.
Oh,
No more grievance tribunals or court.
Seriously, just do the deal. Sort it out.
I mean, the Bombers, if we rewind last year, on the first day of trade period last year, the Bulldogs said, we'll give you our second round pick for Stewie Crammery. The Bombers banged their head against the wall, said, no, we want more. We want pick 4. I think they said at one stage. Last day of trade period, yeah, right, we'll take the second round pick.
They've got a history of doing it.
Yeah.
And in this situation, where it's more than just footy, bloke wants out, do the deal. Just do the deal.
GT wants to know, will Biggs and Membry look like they're out of the Swans? Will Sydney get anything back in return?
Not a huge amount, you wouldn't think.
I don't think they're going to get anything.
No, I don't think they'll get a huge amount, to be honest. And you know, Membry, St Kilda.
Yeah, no doubt it'll be the Saints.
But what will it be, though? It'll be...
The Saints can't give them a player.
No, absolutely
and
not.
Sydney doesn't need any more draft picks. They've already used 300 Academy boys, and they've got pick 39.
So they won't get a lot out of them.
So Membry maybe pre-season draft Biggs. You know, the Dogs might be able to give a pick, and Sydney can package 2 for a higher one for St Kilda. But if not, he'll be a delisted free agent. So very, very minimal compensation.
And so the other one, McLean gone from the Blues. Anyone going to give up pick 80 plus for him, or maybe pick him up in the pre-season draft? A return to the D's. How would that be? I don't think that'll happen.
No,
I don't think that'll happen.
Former pick 5.
Well,
what do you make of it?
Well, I'm really still surprised by it, given that Carlton were giving every indication that he was safe for another year. That he, and they specifically put that on the table, that they thought that he would stay. And all of a sudden it's turned really quickly, and that he's probably gone. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens there.
Yeah, Mitch Robinson, will he find a home?
I would doubt it at this stage. There's been really limited. You think you make some bad decisions in your life and you deserve second chances. He's had a few, and I think he'd be sitting back now really cursing what he did.
He's had more than a few, let's be fair. Now, Shooter wants to know, North Melbourne has become Dad's Army. Moving Harper is a bad move.
Well, it is interesting that their philosophy, they believe it clearly, and they finished 4th, so that's probably fair enough. They believe they're close. They're really close to winning a flag. And if they're not, gee, it could turn pretty ugly. We've seen plenty of clubs add top up to their list when they thought they were close to a flag, and it hasn't quite worked out. But it's fascinating to see. They will be a great team to watch next year in terms of what's going to happen.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't mind
aggression. You know, they haven't lost a whole lot of talent.
No.
They've got pick 25 back for Greenwood, so they've got that's going to be
losing Greenwood will hurt them.
It will, but that's all they've lost.
Yeah.
Maybe Harper, who has played 3 games in 2 years, they might have cut anyway. They haven't given up much, and if you think if you think you're close, be aggressive and go for it. I love it.
Did they get the Greenwood thing wrong when they're in talking away with we're talking away with Sean Higgins? Did they just neglect the Greenwood thing?
My reading on Greenwood is that he's had this amazing breakout season, and which is commanding top dollar. But the Roos reckon that's probably above him. He probably down, and he can reproduce that for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah,
now
that's probably fair.
That's a punt. Now, so no one knows which way. If he turns into a star for the Magpies and plays 100 really good games, well, then there's no doubt they'll come out losers. But if he falls back to,
which could happen, like.
Round 1, he wasn't in the side. Round 2, he was a sub. So,
absolutely.
He only really came into his own.
And he was close to being gone at the end of last year. He was close to being gone at the end of last year. Held on, finished a vote off winning the best and fairest, or equaling the best and fairest, and eventually, countback system gets 3rd. So the Pies will say we've brought in a bloke who's finished 3rd, 1 vote off on a B&F from a team that finished 4th last year. So this year,
not a bad point.
Yeah.
What else we got? Since Buckley has taken, 25 players have departed. I'll try it a third time. 25 players have departed Collingwood since Buckley took over in late 2011. Think it's his team yet? Peter wants to know.
Yeah, it's a fair call. It's definitely his team now. And if it's not, there's something wrong because they've made so many changes. I can't remember how many of that 2010 grand final side have gone. It might be like 11, 12, or 13 or something along that bracket now.
And that was the 3rd youngest premiership.
Correct. And it's quite astounding what's actually happened. But these things happen in footy clubs, and he has got the people around him now. He's got the draft picks there. Hopefully, Darcy Moore. I've just been on Darcy Moore. It's like he's already won a Brownlow medal. But I think the Pies, it's going to be a tough couple of years, but if they can do it right, they'll be back right in that premiership window in 2 or 3, maybe 4 years' time.
And Blake, who's a very, very good Bulldogs man, wants to know, the Dogs are in a bit of trouble. He says, we only have Jack Redpath as a key forward. The question is, who will we get in the national draft? Well,
you're the man. You're all over that.
That's interesting. I mean, there's no doubt the Dogs have stated they want to rise up the order. They've currently got pick 6. That's probably not going to get a Ryder or McCartan, which they desperately want to. In an ideal world, they'd like to move up the order if they can't secure Tom Boyd. If not, it might be another midfielder, and they might have to just sit on their hands and hopefully get Tom Boyd.
I was going to say that. Will Tom Boyd want to go back to the Bulldogs in 12 months' time? Is the link there that strong?
I think it is.
Or will it be he goes somewhere else in 12 months' time?
Right now, obviously, a lot can change. I reckon right now he is dead set keen on joining the Western Bulldogs, whether it's tomorrow or in a year.
And what sort of mindset do you carry into a year playing for a club that you say you don't want to play for in a city that you don't want to live in?
And how does the club treat you?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Really.
A lot to I'd love to see the first conversation, obviously between Leon Cameron and Tom Boyd. It'd be very interesting, wouldn't it?
I'd love to see the conversation between Leon Cameron and Ryan Griffin. If that trade
that's true. If that trade doesn't get going, the GWS were that confident the day that Ryan Griffin announced his bombshell. They were pretty confident and pretty cocky that everything's going to be right. We'll get this done. They didn't quite see the piece of friendly fire that came out the other way.
I don't think Ryan Griffin's had much sleep lately. I reckon he's too happy with the Giants if this doesn't get over the line.
He might stay pig shooting. He might stay pig shooting.
Now, a question here from Andrew and Mount Eliza. I believe that all the trades and clubs involved here, that Melbourne yet again is the bunny in the process. Maybe they will eventually get it right, but not in my lifetime, it seems.
Oh, that's
what's Melbourne done wrong so
I don't
far?
think they've done anything wrong.
They've lost Clark and got Lumumba.
True. I think what people are probably hoping and expecting that they would have been able to trade those early picks and get a superstar. But it wasn't happening. There's no superstar out there, bar maybe Ryan Griffin,
who wants to
play. So there was no one out there this year. So you're in a situation where, as we said before, they've just got to pick the right blokes.
Yeah.
They pick the right blokes. They then pick the superstars in 3, 5, 6 years' time.
You look at St Kilda; they want 4 years of good drafting, and then they'll hit free agency.
Yeah.
It's you get the right kids here, and you make your club a place which you want to play at. I think we're getting the wind up here. That's it for Trade HQ, but we will be back better than ever tomorrow for the final day of trade period. It wraps up at 2 p.m. and we'll be all over at Super Footy. So stay tuned.